We've now come to the book of Daniel, where we see the God who protects and discloses and rules. Following the order of Jesus' Bible, the narrative of Kings ended with Israel in Babylonian exile and a Davidic descendant still alive. The story then pauses for two extended commentary units in the latter prophets, books like Jeremiah and Zechariah, and the former writings where we get books like Psalms and Lamentations, all of which color and clarify the story itself. But now we return to the narrative. Daniel resumes the storyline, picking up in Babylon where Kings had left off, and giving tangible signs of kingdom hope through the lives of 4 Judean exiles, chief among them being Daniel, whose own life mirrors that of Joseph in the way that he rises to a high authority in a foreign land. God is in charge of all the kingdoms of mankind, and he will overcome all when his messianic king arrives and offers himself to atone for the sins of the world. From Daniel's perspective, hope for God's coming Messiah shines brightly in the present and will be realized in the future. So what I want to do is give a brief biblical theology of one of the key figures in the book of Daniel, the Son of Man, or the son of Adam, in Daniel chapter 7. And this section has been aided by one of my own research assistants, Brian Verrett. So since Genesis 3, we await a human in God's image who will eternally reign over God's earthly kingdom. This entails ruling even over the beasts and the animals as humans ought to rule. Genesis 1:26 through 28. Because humans fail to live out their calling to rule God's world, including ruling over the animals, they actually become seeds of the serpent and bring death into the world. Genesis 3:15. And as offspring of the serpent, what that means is they become akin to the very beasts of the field. Genesis 3:1. Now, being the serpent's seed, humans act like beasts by giving into animal-like passions, animal-like sinful temptations to violence. Think about how Cain killed Abel. And the initial result of all these animal-like actions is the flood punishment. Chapter 6, 12, and 13. And then the next ultimate climax of this animal-like passion is the prideful rebellion expressed at the Tower of Babylon, usually called the Tower of Babel, but the exact same word in Genesis 11. Now, the seed of the woman and the seed of Abraham, same person, will fix these problems by being a human who defeats the serpent and restores humanity's eternal rule over the world and even over the beasts. Genesis 3:15, I'll put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and her offspring. He will bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Well, it's this figure that we then read about in Genesis 22:17. Your offspring shall possess the gate of his enemies. Those beastly anti-God enemies will be possessed. Their gates will be possessed by this certain singular male offspring of Abraham. And in that very offspring shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Now, within Daniel, human rulers are God's image. That's what we get in chapter 2, a statue of the kingdoms of men, but it's not a statue, it's simply called an image. But instead of ruling earth on heaven's behalf, all these kingdoms and these kings pursue violence and pride that resembles the Tower of Babylon. Now, this pride and rebellion against God turns them into beasts, and that is exactly how Daniel portrays them in Daniel chapter 7. Eventually, one who is truly human, like a son of Adam, like a son of man, will overcome all beastly temptations. He'll rule on God's behalf over the world and defeat death forever. That's Daniel 7 and Daniel 12. Consider these verses. In Daniel 7, we read in verses 13 and 14, and then 27, I saw in the night visions, and behold, with the clouds of heaven, there came one like a son of man. And he came to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him, and to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all peoples and nations and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away. His kingdom, one that shall not be destroyed. And the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdoms under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. His kingdom shall be an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. It is in this context that we then read in Daniel chapter 12, verses 2 and 3, and many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above, and those who turn many to righteousness, like the stars forever and ever. Now, in the New Testament, Jesus identified himself as this Son of Man. He used that title more than any other title for himself, and in doing so, he alludes directly to Daniel chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. As in Mark chapter 10, 45, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. We read about that very fact in Daniel 9, 24. Or Mark 14, 61 through 62. Again, the high priest asked him, well, are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? And Jesus said, I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand in power and coming with the clouds of heaven. My summary of the book of Daniel. The all-wise and sovereign God will eventually overcome all other kingdoms by establishing his kingdom through the Messianic Son of Man, that is the new Adam, who will reign over all peoples and nations because of his substitutionary death and resurrection, and who will use his royal power to deliver his people from their exile to death by raising them from the dead. The book of Daniel.